Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over NavigationStack, and the goal of this tutorial is to start at the basics of NavigationStack and go all the way up to programmatic navigation. Now the desire is that by the time we get to the programmatic navigation stage, you're just kind of like, oh, that's not that bad, because it's really not once you understand it. So if you're ready to take your NavigationStack skills to the next level, stay tuned. So here we are in our brand new Xcode project. Let's go ahead and create our first navigation. Now to do that, we will change this VStack to a navigation stack. And then we're going to get rid of this code in here and replace it with a button. And this button is going to say that we are going to navigate to a new view. And so the action for that button will be to add something to our navigation path. Now we haven't gone over what our navigation path is just yet, so let's go ahead and let's create that too. So we'll create an @state variable that is a path, and it is equal to a navigation path. And we're going to instantiate it just like that. So this navigation path holds an array of data, and that data, you won't be able to read the type out of it, but Swift knows how it's supposed to handle that data based on the navigation destination, which we'll go over here in just a second. So for right now, we will add this path to our navigation stack, and we'll pass in the binding to that path so that every time this path changes, our navigation stack is made aware and can listen in and go ahead and make those changes. So now let's go ahead and let's say that we're going to append a new value, and right now let's just let it pick a random number. So we'll say int.random between 1 and 100. So what that will do is whenever we click our button, we will append a new number somewhere between 1 and 100, doesn't matter which one right now, somewhere between 1 and 100 to our path. Now if we click the button, nothing will happen because it doesn't know what to do with our navigation, and so that's why it looks like our navigation broke here, because it doesn't know how to handle that. So we handle that by adding a navigation destination. So let's add a navigation destination modifier to our button here. Now the one that we're going to use is the for, and it takes a hashable type and a destination, which is just a view. And so our for in this case will be an int.self, since that's what we're passing into our path. And our destination will take whatever item we give it, and it will, for now, we'll just display it here. We'll say you got, and then we'll pass in our item here for whatever the number is that it picked as a random number. So now whenever we click navigate to a new view, we should see our text. There we are, you got 52. All right, and so now, as you can see, we get our back stack automatically because we're in this navigation stack here. And if we click this button again, we should get a new random number. There we go, we got 12. Very cool. And with that, we've used NavigationStack to go from one screen to another, and we've even been able to pass data from one screen to another, which is pretty easy. As you can see, there's not a whole lot to this. Now again, just to summarize what we did, we wrapped our view in a navigation stack, and then we passed in a binding to our path, which just is an array of data. And so whenever we clicked our button, we just added one item to that array of data. And so this navigation path takes an array of data instead of an array of views like the old navigation link used to. So if you're familiar with that, we're not adding new views onto our stack anymore, we're adding new data onto our stack. And then the navigation stack itself and the navigation destination decide what should be displayed given whatever data that you've just added to your stack. And so in this case, we just added an integer to our stack, and whenever we're listening to an integer, we display this view right here, which just so happens to be a text with the item that we were given as our integer. Now there is one thing that we could do, which is make this a little bit more extendable, and we could create a view model. And so let's go ahead and let's add observable, and we will create our view model class here. And inside this view model, we could, for example, move our navigation path up into our view model, and then that would give us a global location to store our navigation rather than storing it inside of an individual view. And then to create this, we would say our view model is equal to our view model there. There we go. And now this will break a little bit of, this will break a few things. And so let's go ahead and we will say that this is not a path directly, but it is our binding to our view model path. And same thing here. This is not just our path, it is the view model path that we're wanting to append data to. Let's also go ahead and import observable or observation, since we're using add observable here on our view model. And now our button should still work the same as it did before. There we go, we've gotten 68 this time. And with that, we've been able to make this just a little bit more extendable. And this is something that is more like something that you would use in your regular everyday app, is pulling this out into its own navigation so that you're not having to create this and instantiate this inside of every individual view that you might want. All right, now that was one example. Let's move on to the other example. So in this example, we want to navigate to one of two screens depending on what we want our answer to be. So let's go ahead and let's clean up this code here, and we'll just get rid of it for now. And we'll replace it with a VStack, and inside our VStack we'll have two buttons. One button that says SwiftUI is the best, and on this button action we want to append a string instead of an integer, and we want that string to be yes. And in the other scenario, we want to create a button that says SwiftUI is the worst. And then the action we want for that one will again append another string here, and that string will just be no. So whenever we click, and that's not path, that's viewModel.path, so let's go ahead and fix that. So this is viewModel.path. There we go. And now whenever we click either one of these buttons, we'll be taken to a screen. And I would like for us to be taken to a good screen for yes and a bad screen for no, if for whichever button we click. So let's come back outside of our view, and we'll add a new navigation destination. And again, we'll choose the for, and the type that we're listening to now is a string instead of an integer. And then we will still just take an item here. Now, if our item is equal to yes, then we want to display the text of correct. Otherwise, we want to display a text of wrong. There we go. And so now we are doing a little bit of decisive navigation based on the item that's been added to our path, if we want to display the correct screen or the wrong screen. So let's go ahead and let's click SwiftUI is the best, and we should see, we see correct and wrong. So let's go ahead and fix that. That means our logic was broken. So else we want to display a text of wrong. There we go. And now if we click SwiftUI is the best, we should see correct. Very good. And if we select SwiftUI is the worst, we should see wrong, and we do. Very cool. Now, all we did was we just listened to the type that was being passed, and this type was a string. And now the types that we can listen for are anything that conforms to the hashable protocol. Now, integer and string and some of the more basic Swift types like that already conform to hashable out of the box. And so these are really easy, simple examples, but not something that you would actually probably see in real life. So let's go ahead and let's create a little bit different view. Let's say that we are trying to help an animal shelter in our neighborhood by allowing them to see the pets that were adopted. And so we want to create a struct for dogs, and it conforms to identifiable and let's say hashable too. And we will let our ID equal a UUID. There we go. And then we'll just have one other parameter, which is a name and a string. Now, because these UUID types and this string type already conform to hashable, there's nothing else we need to do here. So that makes our life pretty simple. And now let's do the same thing for a cat. So let's add a cat type here, and then that way we are ready to go. So now we have a dog type and a cat type, and again they both conform to hashable. So let's come over here back into our view, and we'll create a temporary array, and we'll say that there is an array of cats that are available at our shelter, and this cat we'll just name cat1, and then so on and so forth down to cat4. There we go. And then let's say that we have an array of dogs, and each of these dogs, again, it has a very complicated naming scheme of 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what we want to do is we want to display each of these in a list. So let's go ahead and let's clean up our view one more time. And let's say that we want a list, and inside this list we want a section, and inside this section we want to display each cat, and in this scenario we just want to display a navigation link with a value and a label. So that's what we want here. And now what this does is this value takes a hashable type, and so we'll pass in our cat, and the label that we want for this cat navigation link is a text with the cat's name. There we go. And let's go ahead and let's make it a little bit better, and we'll say that this is a cat with a cat.name, just so that we can remember which section we're in here. There we go. And in fact, let's also give this section a header too while we're here, and we'll give this header the section title of cat. There we go. Now we'll get rid of the padding on our list because we don't need that. There we are. So now whenever we click on a cat, it doesn't know what to do, and so it just kind of hangs right here. Now remember, we added a navigation destination to our previous views, so let's go ahead and let's do that now. And we'll add a navigation destination, and this time we will be listening, instead of to a string or an integer, we will be listening to a cat type. And the destination, we'll take our item, and we will display any view. For example, right now we'll just say that this is a, let's make it nice. So let's say that this is a VStack, and inside this VStack, let's have an image of a system name, and the string will be cat.fill, and then we'll make it resizable so that it's nice and large so you can see the image of the cat. And then we will also say that it is scaled to fit, and then we will display our cat's name. I'll say item.name. There we are. And so now whenever we click on a cat, we will be able to go to a different screen, and we'll see our image of a cat, and we see the cat's name down here right below it, which is very cool. Let's even give this a font of title so that we can make that text easily readable. There we go. Very good. All right, and now we can see that we are listening to cats. But as you know, most animal shelters have more than just cats. They also have dogs too. So let's come over here, and we'll copy our cat section, and we'll create a section for all of our dogs. And now in here we will rename this value to dog. There we go. And this section is the dog section now. So now we have cats and dogs, and we've already navigated to our cat type. But if we come back over here and we try to add one of our dogs to our view, as you can see, the navigation stack doesn't know what to do with it because we haven't told it what we want it to do for a dog, just for a cat. So let's go ahead and we'll add another navigation destination here, and this time we'll use our dog.self, and the item we want to display, we'll just take a similar view here, but instead of a cat we want to display a picture of a dog, and we'll also display the dog's name here. And so now whenever we click on our cat type, we'll display our cat view, and whenever we click on our dog type, we will display our dog view. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. So if we click on cat 4, we see cat 4. If we click on dog 2, now we have a picture of our dog, and we see dog 2 here in our view. Very cool. And then we can navigate back and forth between the two. Now with this, we are able to navigate between two different types, all on the same view, which is very cool and a lot closer to a real-life scenario. And with just that little bit of background, we are already ready for programmatic navigation. So just for simplicity's sake, let's go ahead and let's remove our cat section out of the way here. And we will remove our destination for displaying cats here, just to clean things up a little bit. Now, right now, we are navigating only to a specific dog, and only when you click on the dog. But what if we wanted to do something different? What if we wanted to instead display all of the dogs all at once and jump all the way down from dog 1 to dog 2 to dog 3 to dog 4 programmatically without the user having to click on 1, 2, 3, and 4? How would we do something like that? Well, let's just for now create a button, and let's call this button See All Dogs. And inside this button, we're going to modify our path directly. Now, in order to see all the dogs at the same time, we aren't able to push an entire array of data into this path, because then the compiler will think that we're trying to convert that path of NavigationStack data to a path of, in this instance, dogs, for example. That's not what we're actually trying to do, but the navigation path doesn't understand that. It only understands being passed one thing at a time. So in order to do that, we can say for each dog in dogs, we want to append each dog to the path. So now, whenever we click our See All Dogs button, we will be able to jump into dog 1, and then dog 2, dog 3, and dog 4. So at the single click of this button, it will look like we jumped straight to dog 4, but we were able to push all 4 dog views onto the stack. So let's go ahead and try it out. There we go. We see dog 4, and now if we click back, we should see dog 3, and we do. Very cool. And then dog 2. Nice. And then dog 1, and then we should go back to our list. Very cool. We were able to jump all the way to the last dog in the list and then back out and see everything that we wanted to see. Now, one thing to keep in mind about using navigation path is that we don't want to use this for every single navigation option in our app all the time. We actually probably want to lean more towards using our navigation split view for the most part. And then if we need deeper stack navigation, that's where this navigation stack comes in. And the reason for that is we want our app to be adaptive. Being adaptive means that it would work on any screen size, even all the way from Watch all the way up to Apple TV or even Apple Vision Pro. Whenever we use Navigation Split View, it's designed to handle those scenarios and to be able to grow or shrink based on whatever we need for our use case. This is not really intended for that. This is intended for example, when you're already at the last column of your navigation split view, that's where you would want to use your navigation stack. So just keep that in mind whenever you're using this in your app. And with that, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you leave a comment, just be nice about it. That's all I ask. Thanks. Have a great day.